Sir, how y'all doing today? This is Coming Through Clutch Podcast, Clutch Sports Media 365 with your host, Jay Hoop, Jay the Perspective. Hold on, there we go. Get back up on here. All right. How's everybody doing? We had good, interesting games. The divisional round of the playoffs was this weekend, and we're going to recap this for all y'all. We're talking about the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Eagles, the Giants, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and the Bengals. Some very good, interesting matchups this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, I must say. And if you see the ticker at the bottom, you will see Bengals beat the Bills 27-10. Jags fall to the Chiefs 27-20. The Giants lose to the Eagles. They get blowed out. That was the lopsided game of the weekend. The Cowboys struggled against the Niners 19-12. That is what happened this weekend. Among other things that we're going to talk about. But let's get to these games that we're looking at. Buffalo Bills picked to win. Highly favored. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we had an interesting turn of events with the Damar Hamlin situation where he was resuscitated. And, of course, we went on that NFL hiatus. They even had a neutral site, which is the first time I've ever heard of this in the NFL. But they sold 50,000 tickets. And you know what the Bengals did? Of course, you know what the Bengals did after they beat them, which was interesting to see. Because, I mean, looking at that game, going into it, you would have thought that it would have been the Bills with the momentum and all of the, let me see what we want to call this, all of the moxie. However, it was Joe Burrow and them after seeing what they did the week prior, how they battled with the Ravens, but they were able to hold them off. And then when they get the ball, they marched the field with command. It was like, this is going to be interesting turn of events. Now, amongst that, you did see Stephon Diggs on the sideline with his arms out, fussing at Josh. It was like, what happened? But when you're a highly competitive player, when you want to win, when you're picked to win, when you're fighting for the opportunity to carry on, the emotion does get the best of us. That's all it was. He was even tweeting now, and I've read some of his tweets. He even reposted them. You can follow us at Clutch CSM365 on Twitter and stay in the loop with us. But this guy, you can tell, was emotional. I'm not mad at him. I can't be mad at him. But on the other side of the ball, Joe Burrow and them made it look easy as they took that game and they ran away with it. But shocking enough, 10 points for the Bills, that's just something different. Then we go over to Jacksonville, who nobody thought would be in there, much less win the AFC South, much less take the Titans out, much less turn this ship around with the Doug Peterson at the helm in his first year as a Jacksonville Jaguar. Congratulations to them. As they did late bloom in this game and try to take it to the wire as they fall to the Chiefs, like I said, 27-20. Mahomes will be injured in the second quarter of this game with a high ankle sprain. However, his competitive spirit would not allow him to want to be taken out the game. You can see him on the sideline. Well, he was, F this, I'm not getting out the game. He knew that I got to give my team the best opportunity to win. And they went out there and they did enough to get by, and they eke it out by 7 points. Now, the Giants and the Eagles, this totally blew me because the week prior, the Giants did look like the competitive team that would give Philly a run for their money. And then we all sat back and was like, Philly might have to How would they play after the bye week? Mm, well, if it's indication of the score, Philadelphia is going to be trouble for the 49ers, who will get into next. But the Giants only putting 7 points up after the fight to knock off the Vikings, who I had been saying through numerous Twitter posts, maybe, that Minnesota would not last long in the postseason. However, they shocked me. But when you look at what the stat line was for the Vikings, they were 11-0 with one score games. So that means that they got to fight to finish, especially with that offense, the way they were built and the way that they perform. I just thought that it would have been a better game. However, the Giants take it. Now the Giants go on to Philly. Oh my. Oh my. If the indication of this game shows you what to expect, I say Philly to the Super Bowl. But then after we watch, wait, before we even get there, the Eagles flying high, performing well, totally one-sided, this obliterated the Giants 38-7. It's amazing. You would have never thought after all the, let me see, how can I put it? All the ways that people thought that these people were actually going to lose the game, or the bye week is going to hinder them some kind of way, went out there and dominated. This is an interesting turn of events for the NFC now. So, with that being said, we on to Dallas and the Frisco Niners. A bit of rivalry. Dallas making another historic march into the postseason after how many years? Okay. Stephen A had it best this morning because it is the Monday perspective with Jay, the perspective. He said if anything could go wrong, it would go wrong. And he was not lying. It went wrong. What could you say? How could you argue with that? You can't argue with that. You think about it. Third string, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, who did a good job with the ball. He didn't turn it over, and he didn't too much get frustrated. But it wasn't the Purdy from the week prior. It wasn't the Cowboys from the Tampa Bay game on the wild card neither. And oh my. What was that last play of the game for the Cowboys? I mean, somebody please tell me. I honestly don't know. However, I look back and I'm like, wait a minute. What are these? What are they doing? What are they honestly doing? I don't get it. But that's neither, no, excuse me, here or neither there. The Cowboys would seemingly have a 50-50 split of people thinking that the boys would pull us off in Frisco. I mean, well, in Santa Clara, I highly doubt that for a hot second because after watching the Cowboys give up, you know, some key plays, and then Dak turning the ball over, even with the turnover that the Niners did on that return, they still weren't able to punch it in, thus giving the ball back to the 49ers. Now, Dallas is eliminated. The 49ers are going on, and they have to go to Philly to play those Eagles. And after what the Eagles did, oh my goodness, what do you think? We can look at the Bengals and the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs and the Bengals is going to be an interesting matchup because they've already played each other in this similar situation. And it was the Bengals who got the best of the Chiefs. Now, with Patrick Mahomes injured, this is going to be interesting. The same way it's going to be interesting with how the Niners are going to try and keep Purdy safe from that defense because the Eagles defense definitely is a monster. They have four of their pass rushers with 10 plus sacks. They kept Dallas to 12 points. What was the problem with the Cowboys? Hmm. What was the problem with what was the problem? Yes, you can look at the divisional round as well. We have four good teams that are now pushed on to the postseason, and it's interesting to see how things are going to fare. And I mean, interesting, definitely, because you have the four best teams. Honestly, the four best teams in the postseason that made it to the finale, the big chip for the conference to go on. The question will be, who will it be? But before we get to that question, let me go ahead and go back and look at some of what happened already. Okay. Dak took acceptance for it. Jerry was asked about firing McCarthy, and he was like, no, no, no. Zeke, excuse me. Tony Pollard, that's another thing I wanted to get to. I apologize. Tony Pollard was injured, a high ankle sprain in that game where he was carted off, and now we're looking at okay, what is going to be the outcome of his situation? Zeke just tweeted, well, it was just tweeted out along with some more information. Zeke is willing to take a pay cut to stay after the season that he has had. Excuse me. I would want to restructure that contract as well, considering that your backup had a more relevant position this season than what the star of the team had. And then that last play again, what was that? You got Zeke straight just punished. What they coined as the ugliest game play, what the ugliest play in history, right? There's a lot of other ones, but that was just weird. And they even had a timeout called, and he still went with the move. Now, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, is going to reported that he is going for a interview for the head coaching position in Carolina. Kellen Moore has had a nice career with the Cowboys. He's shocked us with enough of his talent. However, not been proven. Hasn't made it past the divisional round. Um, there's going to be a lot of questions coming out of Dallas as well as Buffalo, considering that Buffalo was picked unanimously by a lot of people as a favorite for the Super Bowl. They were picked to outlast the Bengals. This was a rematch from that 7-3 game that was cut in half by a medical emergency. However, this time around, Cincinnati went in there with that chip and they played to their strengths. Buffalo, it when you have to rely upon Mr. Allen, JA 17, and you can't connect with your number one receiver 14, it kind of puts a strain on things. Big Gabe Davis, excuse me. Where was he? The running game, it kind of tried to get off, but it didn't. Now we look back at this weekend and we're like, what happened? But nevertheless, we can analyze what the Bills did. We can put them under the criticism. We can downplay the inadequacies, but we have to own this moment. And like Josh Allen did in his presser, he owned the moment. He knew that they didn't play this. Von Miller even tweeted out, well, not tweeted out, but I retweeted what Von Miller said. I came here for a couple of Super Bowls. So he wants multiple Super Bowls, not just this one up. They know that they didn't get off to a good start this week. They know that this was it. But that attitude that's coming out of there is it's on to next year. you're getting closer and closer. But I mean, with the way the offseason is starting to look and the trends that are going around, some teams are going to be able to continue to hold on to the core pieces that got them success. Maybe like Jacksonville, Kansas City, maybe the Giants they're going to be under a lot of scrutiny because they have a lot of free agency. Philadelphia, they're going to have to answer some questions. Dallas is the one that we're all looking to just because it's the Cowboys and everybody had this train running. It is interesting, especially with the 49ers situation as a quarterback going forward. So with the division wrapping up, the divisional round wrapping up, you're looking back at these teams and you're like, man, if you thought the wild card was super and epic and what happened this year is only indicating that the championship games are going to be stellar. I'm talking about let's put it up, let's get it. I don't know what the people are looking for with this one. But I do know one thing. We can get ready for a rematch of the AFC Championship game to see if Joe B sweeps the Chiefs this season and continues to add to the lead. We will see if Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are still soaring as the Niners come in to try and dig up some gold for a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's going to be interesting, nevertheless. But we have to look at what are the expectations for the teams that lost, like the Buccaneers, the Pack, the Giants, the Vikings. You look at that. And as you look at what the divisional round has given us this weekend, it was epic. So now teams are looking for a certain build. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you can look at the OCs and the DCs and the head coaching, they're making a switch now. They're looking for that it factor. They're trying to get there. Me, I'm a Patriot fan. I hope that the third year for Mac Jones turns into what we've seen from Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Hebert. That's another one that shocked me too with the Chargers, ladies and gentlemen. I just mean, Lord, what happened to them? And they made some key changes to their OC. I'm glad that they didn't get rid of Brandon Staley because you want to kind of keep it together because you're seeing progress. It's not perfection, but it's progress. You've got a little more to give. So I'm just interested in seeing what next season brings, but not before we get past what we're gonna have coming up this weekend in these championships. But recapping what we already know, Cowboys out. Sorry. Jacksonville, good try, good run. Got there. Chiefs continue to dominate. My homeboy, oh, that guy right there, even injured, gave them a run for their money. The Giants, they have questions. Now, they look good. Dayball did his effectiveness. I mean, look, the Giants made it to the postseason when you didn't even think that they would get that many wins. What? Guess who? Danny Dimes and the resurging, well, reinvigorated Saquon Barkley. But he didn't show up against the Eagles. You can look back and be like, man, the Cowboys were picked. The Bills were picked. The Eagles still standing tall, and the Niners, along with the Bengals and the Chiefs, highly favored. So the four that's left in there are the four that should be in there, apparently. This is going to be interesting to see how this turn of events turns out. But nevertheless, we're going over this. Now, Dak's quote. Let me give you Dak's quote. Owning his ENTs, his performance. He promises better play for Dallas. You can't say, you can't just put all the blame on Dak as well, but he takes it. Will Patrick Mahomes' injury affect his play this weekend? He said no. He said he's not even going to allow it to even frustrate him, which is very good to hear. You know what I'm talking about? No, let's see. All right. Now, looking at this, right? Look at this. This is McDermott. I got out coached. I agree. It's a total mismatch, that guy, but I mean, it's not that, it wasn't that bad. Mike McCarthy, they just pulled him up because his tweets were good. Oh, Mike McCarthy. I don't follow Mike. I don't believe I ain't follow Mike. Wow. You're right. There goes the Mike McCarthy when he pushed the cameraman allegedly. He did apologize, he said. Man. Oh my. Now this play right here was the play that got blowed up right there. I was asking, what was this? Zeke hikes the ball and hurry up to quick the throw and it stopped. I mean, I'm looking at it on Pat McAfee show right here, okay? This is I am not, this is crazy, right? I'm gonna put it up on the stream real quick and pull it up. I'm pull it up. We're about to get up out of here in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now look, this is what I want to share with you. Hold up, let me see. Because this is the epic.
Job. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of staff movement. I just don't get the sense that it'd be like anything crazy, like Mike McCarthy's fine, for instance. But the Dak question is interesting because he obviously didn't play great. The interceptions are a problem. Obviously, the 49ers defense is awesome, like literally the best, awesome, and they make everybody look bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I have two things. One, Dak knows it. He's got to be better. And the interception thing wasn't a fluke because we saw repeated, ball non-security issues. Like that needs to be a focus this coming year. And they need another weapon. Like Michael Gallup had, I think, no yards.
Nothing.
Like
and then there was a zigzag situation.
And see now, that was the interesting thing about the way Dallas lost that game is that what they did the week prior did not get done against the Niners. It was like I don't know what to call that, but like Ian was telling Pat, there's going to be some issues because when you look at Dak's performance, and we're talking about being in the divisional round of the postseason here, you already rolled dogs. You're already going in there. But you see the difference to me, the difference with the Bengals being road dogs, they going in there with an attitude that they're going to win. Dallas went in there with that attitude, and they did do their thing against Tommy in Tampa. But Tampa is a shell of what they used to be. Come on. Not dumping the number 2 on Bucks, but I mean, come on, guys. You Willie was tested with this Niners game. And the way that they ran the plays and the stuff that they did, it just did not line up with the play from the week before. It just didn't. Now let's see where we at. Hold on, come on. Come on. Let's go, Sean McDermott. Oh, here we go. Give you the Sean McDermott. Let's see, y'all. Sean, let's go. All right.
I'm a big believer in you are who you are in the last game of the season in terms of what you saw on the field, and that's what you have to address. And so obviously we weren't good enough yesterday, and we need to address those areas and do what's necessary to get this organization to the Super Bowl. The journey continues, and we won't stop until we get there, and that's the vision moving forward. And we're all frustrated on a day after a loss in the division round, that's for sure. I'm extremely proud of how far this organization has come, but not satisfied. I'm a big believer in you are who you are in the last game of the season in terms of what you saw on the field, and that's what you have to address. And so obviously we weren't good enough yesterday, and we need to address those areas and do what's necessary to get this organization to the Super Bowl. The journey continues, and we won't stop until we get there, and that's the vision moving forward. And we're all frustrated on a day after a loss in the division round, that's for sure. I'm extremely proud of how far this organization has come, but not satisfied. I'm a big believer in you are who you are in the last game of the season in terms of
we're not satisfied with the way it ended, and I don't blame him. He took full responsibility for their loss. I give him that. That was, However, we just did not see what we seen from Buffalo. Once I seen Buffalo kind of wave a little bit. I'm talking about with the Miami game where they almost lost the game. But they had some clutch plays that were made down the middle to keep them alive. It just didn't happen yesterday. The score got lopsided. It was 21 to 7 to 10. And they just didn't get back into the game. They were outcoached, outgunned. It is what it is with Buffalo right now. And it's a tough loss for them, like they said, because they had momentum going in. It's a tough loss for the Cowboys because they thought that, hey, we got this. The Giants definitely is going to be tough because they got blowed out. It was ugly. That was just wow. However, when you look back over, and like I said, you can look back over it and be like, this is something different. You know what I'm talking about? This is something different. Well, that is going to give me this opportunity to talk about. Let me see, what else do we have on the agenda for y'all? We got some reviews and some previews, right? Well, technically, we don't have no reviews. We just did the reviews. Again, the preview is your Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Arrowhead for a rematch of an AFC Championship game, a rematch from the game that the Bengals did go into Arrowhead and win. The Eagles and the Niners. This is going to be a battle of two top tier offenses and defenses. You got to give Brock Purdy his flowers right now, considering the guy just literally stepped in and maintained a role that some starting quarterbacks not even. I'm not going to even talk about my man like that, but just say that young man outdueled Dak Prescott. I'm not going to make a pick in this yet, just because this is going to be a tough week of watching headlines and topics and seeing what it is. And I respect some of the coordinators that do not take interviews because they're trying to focus on their game plan, especially D'Amico Ryans of the 49ers. He has a tall task ahead of him dealing with those Eagles. Same thing with the Bengals and Chiefs. Because Mahomes is injured, and that's going to be one of those. Is Mahomes going to play? How's Mahomes going to play with that ankle sprain? He says he's good. I'm entitled to believe it, young man, because Mahomes is that guy. But after watching the Bengals pick apart the Bills, you got to start wondering what's really going to happen. Honestly, I'm so happy that we have got to this point because, like I said, we got to see some epic football this weekend, as well as last weekend with the wild card. Congratulations to all those teams that got here to the postseason. Even if you lost, you still had a chance that you actually defied more than what we expected for some other teams. When you think about it. So, wow. Now, going back over what we've already covered, ladies and gentlemen, Cowboys are what we expected, according to Stephen A., which was funny this morning. I give him that. 49ers are on to Philadelphia, and it's going to be a tall task ahead for them. Bengals already have an advantage, I believe, over the Chiefs, considering going into this that they already have they've already won. They beat them in the championship to go on to the Super Bowl. And at the beginning of the year, we thought that maybe the Bengals had a bit of the Super Bowl hangover. However, look at where they at now. Right back where we started, right? This should be interesting, ladies and gentlemen, I must say. And do you think that Kellen Moore or Dan Quinn leave the boys for a head coaching position? I'm going to leave you with that as we wrap this up. Okay? Thank y'all for tuning in to the Clutch Sports Media 365 Money Perspective with Jay Hoop, Jay the Perspective, host of the Coming Through Clutch podcast. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more as we get ready for the NFC AFC Championship weekend. I'm your host, Jay, and we're out.